Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back, you gorgeous unicorns. Today, we wanted to talk about words and how powerful words are. And really, we'll probably end up getting into also like the meaning behind words as well a little bit. We might not, no promises. But before we go there, I wanted to welcome those that might be landing on this video or this audio for the first time and don't know who I am or who Bethany is and what is this whole series of podcasts about. So, this series of podcasts is called Heal the Unicorn, which is under the umbrella of the Unicorn Talk, where I get to talk to unicorns from all walks of life. And my definition of a unicorn is anyone who is striving or already living in the way that they would want to live, which is on their terms, their way, who have uncovered or uncovering who they are and owning their authenticity and living that way. So on Wednesdays, we do Heal the Unicorn. This is where we talk about um, any kind of blocks, any kind of struggles we've gone through, and not just ourselves, but people in our life as well. So, what inspired this topic for today was a conversation that I had with someone really close to me, and it was a heated, a loud, loving conversation. There was no anger, none of that. Just really loud and passionate from both ends. Where one person, me, says that words are powerful, words have meaning. You got to be very careful the words that you use because you can create and bring that into reality. And the other person says, which also means that when you call people, put labels on people, or you talk about, oh, life really sucks, right? Or life is not fair. So it's multi-layered in there, but at the end of the day, we're going to focus on because as a coach, I can see a lot of blocks in just one sentence, but we're going to focus on just the words themselves, and how that they are powerful. Because if one believes that life is not fair, we all know that we're able to manifest things into our life by sheer thought. Now, if you speak it out loud, it works so much faster, which means that if you continue to believe and say out loud or quietly to yourself that life is not fair, then life will prove to you that you are right? You're asking for that, and then when you're calling someone names without recognizing it, because most people are not taught to notice these subtle ways of labeling people, such ways as you're lazy, you don't listen, you are annoying. And I mean, I can go on and on and on for hours here with all those different labels. But then not only you that starts to believe these words, the other person starts to believe those words. So in this conversation, the person says to me that words don't have meanings. People give them meanings. Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, if we really go back in time to ancient times when people didn't have dictionaries, didn't have any of that, but they understood the power of words and they used them to navigate through life and bring the things that they desired most into their life. And there was prayers as well that the ancient people had created that are still being used to this day. And also, I'm trying to remember what else was said in there, that we're giving the words power. And the other quote that was said, and I would imagine everyone has heard this before, is that um, words don't hurt or break my bones or something like that. I can't remember the phrase. Do you remember? Do you know what I'm talking about, Bethany?
Yeah, like yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So my response to that was, well, that was a very loud ego speaking of saying, you can say what you want to me and it won't hurt me. But here's the thing. I also understand. I've been listening to a lot of teachers, a lot of experts on the brain and the heart. So when we say something to someone, whether it's to somebody else or to ourselves, and for example, let's go with lazy, because this is something that I've heard many times over the years, and I've said it to myself many times because it was said, these words were given to me. So when we label someone or we call someone something, okay, lazy. Let's use a child, for example. You tell your child they're lazy one time. They don't believe it, right? They will argue, they will refuse it, whether it's out loud or not. But what happens is then that word is planted in the subconscious mind. And whether they believe it, whether they are aware of it or not, their lazy part, their lazy self is going to show up in their life in different ways. Right? It is a seed that is being planted that will grow slowly over the years. So sticks and stones might break your bones, but words won't hurt. Yeah, not yet, but eventually they will, right? And eventually they do, one way or another. They become blocks that we then as adults are not even aware of that they're there, and especially for entrepreneurs in the beginning stages. Beginning stages can be like 5 years. That's still beginning stages for most of the entrepreneurs. When you're building your business and you find yourself unable to do things that you really want to do, a lot of people don't realize that there is those words that are playing in the background. And I say in the background because they're really quiet. You don't even hear them, and it's difficult to even bring that into a conscious thought and put it into words and explain it, because it's just like a feeling. But it's not impossible, right? So then it becomes challenging to do all that work in order for you as an entrepreneur to move yourself forward and move your business forward because of such blocks. And one of the things that I say this all the time, that words are like magic spells. So be careful and be cautious of what words you use, because you're speaking life into the words that you're using. So what's coming up for you when you hear this?
For me, it's coming so more of like words are like magic spells, exactly like you said, because a lot of the time, like when it's like oh, this is a pain in my neck, or I've said that in the past, and then all of a sudden I get a pain in my neck, and it's like, well, that's interesting. Another thing is like when I've been like manifesting and like praying for stuff and keeping my thoughts in the anabolic, like in the positive mindsets, I notice the universe like gifts me so much more because of that, instead of just being down and like, using the judgment words, like you were saying, like, and the pain in my neck, or, anything that comes up. One that I'm getting in the practice of removing from my vocabulary is, oh, you never listen to me. And I notice, like with my son, sometimes he doesn't listen to me. And I'm like, well, I'm putting it out there like a spell. Like, okay, yeah, I'm saying it. So the universe is like, well, you say that's the way it is. So here it is, So I'm learning to remove that, because I know everyone does listen to me and I'm well heard. And it's like shifting that negative mindset with the words into the positive anabolic mindset of the words. So you can bring magic to your life instead of like bringing yourself down and judgment.
Yeah. And this is actually very, very, very common. I have not been able to recognize these words that are, I call them trigger words, powerful trigger words that affect us and affect our reality, until I learned about energy leadership, until I gone through the law of being, and until I went through IPAC. I mean, through the law of being, that's when I already became fairly aware, and also having a coach who would point out these words that that really stick out like a sore thumb, that actually continue to create the reality that I'm living in, that I don't want to be living in, or I didn't want to be living in. So, and I mean, human language was created for a reason. We gave words the power, and we've gave words meanings. Now, the meanings have changed for some of the words over the years, but that does not really diminish the power of these words. So many of us, including myself, I still have times and days when I'll say things, or I'll say something without having any thought to it. And then I'm like, and then I step back and think, what did I just say? What did I just, what kind of spell did I just cast? And then when I catch myself in this moment where I caught this spell before it went any further, I mean, it does go pretty quickly from here to there, right? And when we speak of something, it just moves and goes kind of like a cloud, right? And then I change it. And I change it to the one that I desire, and the one that I can actually believe. And I say that because it's actually important to include that feeling of believing in whatever it is that you are speaking, and whatever it is that you are saying, whether it's a mantra or just a sentence or just a phrase that you're saying to your best friend. It's important to believe what you're saying. That's how we're manifesting as well, through believing, through the feelings and the emotions. And I say that because if, let's say some, I'm trying to think of an example right now, and the only one that comes to mind is what everybody wants. Everybody wants to become a millionaire, right? Sooner or later, everybody wants to become a millionaire without knowing what that incorporates, right? And what comes with being a millionaire. I'd rather be a billionaire, because a millionaire is like there was a phrase that I heard from Grant Cardone that said that one of the worst things he did was listen to a millionaire. One of the best things he did was listen to a billionaire, because millionaires are still in that stage where it's like hoarding, where they're keeping everything to themselves because of the fear of losing everything. Whereas you go to the next level up, billionaires, and they're not, right? They're the ones that continue to bring more in. So with phrases like, so somebody, let's say they're saying, they say to themselves or out loud that I will never be rich, I'll never have money in my life. And it's like, then they catch themselves and all of a sudden try to tell themselves, no, I'm a millionaire and I have all the money in the world. Now, those are like, one is more believable. The one that is very limiting is more believable than the one where you are a millionaire already. But if you change the words and in the way that I could become a millionaire, then you start to slowly believe that you can. And then it's like, I could become a millionaire. I definitely could, because I've heard this many times happening over and over again all around the world. So it's definitely possible. So one day I will be a millionaire.
Mhm.
Right? So see how it's slowly changing, is going from I'm broke as F to I'm a millionaire. It's like, wait a minute, no, I'm not. I can't believe that yet, but I could believe that I could be one. So when you start believing that you could be one, it's like, oh, if I could be one, then it will happen, which means I will be one. So you start slowly moving from not possible to it is possible to heck yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, it's like what we've been learning in law of being, with like the I have to, or like having, or I need it, like those are like so like so draining. But when you say like I could have it, or I choose to have it, it just opens up, I feel like, the door to just abundance.
Yeah.
And you have that intention behind it, and you're not lying to yourself.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say a sentence to you, and I want you to tell me what are the words that take the power out of the sentence, and how would you change it? So here's a sentence. How do I make myself do the work I need to do for my full-time job?
Make and need are definitely ones you want to take out.
Yeah.
Um, instead of need, I would do could or choose, like I was saying. And then I like the word get. I get to do it instead of make. Like when you think you get to do something, it's so much more exciting than it's like I have to, like I have to do it. It's like you're being forced to do it in a way.
Okay, so then the change sentence would be, how do I get myself to do the work I could to do my full-time job?
That I choose to do my full-time job.
That I choose.
I think that would be better.
Mm-hmm. So how possible is it that this question will become the one that will, like, which one of these questions do you believe will be the one that brings in more answers?
The rephrased one with the get and the choose, because you're opening yourselves up to options instead of limiting yourself, being like, well, I don't know. But this, you're like, okay, well, what could I do? What am I choosing to do? What do I get to do out of it?
Yeah.
Instead of being so negative or cannibalic with it.
Exactly. Right. Negative and catabolic with the original question, it sounds like it's coming from a place of hopelessness.
Limiting, that's a word that comes up.
That I have to, or there will be dire consequences. And it's coming from a very like heavy place where like the universe, the way that it hears it is that I hate my job, but I have to do it, so I'm going to do it. So the universe says, okay, you hate your job, so I'll help you to find different ways how you can continue to hate your job and continue to do what you have to do, because that's the reality you're living, and that is what you're asking me. So simple questions hold so much power in there. And I say that simple questions, phrases, questions, everything, they hold so much power in them that we continue, and then we wake up in the morning thinking, why is my life the same? Why hasn't anything changed? Because we continue to reaffirm this reality we're living in, which is actually based in the past. Most of us actually live in the past. The words, the phrases we use, it's from the past, and we're bringing it into the now. And because it is a program, we've been programmed to be expressing ourselves that way. I've done that for years. most of my life, because I did not know any other way. I hear my kids speak a certain way, and I point out the words. I call it policing your words. So I police everyone's words in this house. Yeah, it can be annoying, but they do the same thing with me, right? Not as often anymore. It's actually I haven't had anyone police my words for, I mean, this year for sure. I can't remember how far back, but that's because my words has been policed for over a year by coaches, through school, and myself, and people in my life as well, right? Because I've asked them to, because this is the help that I wanted. So such questions, such statements, like you said, one is going to bring a ton of answers that will be powerful, whereas the other one, with the original question, how do I make myself do the work I need to do for my full-time job? Not very much is going to come through, because it creates a lot of catabolic energy. And when we have catabolic energy, we feel tired, we feel drained and blocked, where you'd be lucky if you get one or two answers to such a question. But when it's rephrased, that like we did with your help, how do I get myself to do the work I choose to do for my full-time job? The words choose, it feels like, I mean, the first thing I hear with the word choose is like, oh my God, I have a choice, right? So then what is the choice? What are your choices? And okay, one comes in, another comes in, and another comes in, and another. And so, oh my God, so many choices. What do I do? Well, that's a really good problem to have. And then again, a lot of people with a lot of these answers where they come in at once, it's like, oh my God, that's a lot. I can't deal with it. You know, the bank of the information closes. You can't? Okay, fine. That's it. No more for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can and can't are a huge word. And that's like with my son, he's 4. And a lot of the time he'll be like, I can't do it. And I'm like, oh, no, don't. You can say, I can do it. And then I just see the light bulb go off, like, oh, and he'll be like, oh, thanks, mom, like, because I'm opening his mind more instead of limiting it with like, oh yeah, well, you can't do that, like whatever, and it's like, you said you police the words in your house with everyone. I do the same here, and sometimes I get some but as I get tongue tied, head butting from it, but I don't know. It's helpful. It's very helpful because it helps you get you out of that limited mindset and helps raise you up to where, like you said, you see the choices, you see the possibilities.
Yeah. And I mean, the other side of policing people's words is that, for example, in my life, because I can't speak for you, you'll get a chance to speak, right? But for me in my life, when I police people's words, it does come with resistance. With resistance of, you don't know anything, right? In different ways. There's so many different ways to say that. Even the body language speaks where, no, I'm not listening to you. You don't know what you're talking about. I know better, right? The ego comes up. And when the ego comes up, I'm like, no, there's nothing going through that wall. So I'm going to say less, because less is more. So I'm going to say less, because this phrase I have that reminds me, say less, right? For example, when you're talking about your business or what you offer or who you are, people usually start with stories, right? And one of the things I like is saying or thinking, especially when I'm the one that's doing the talking, with say less, say less. Yeah. And then you can leave more pauses in between for someone else to fill that silence, because all of our minds are always thinking, always moving, always running, nonstop, right? Even when we're sleeping, it's still going. Not as fast, but it's still going. So when I speak and then pause, it allows people to almost like get quiet as well, and then pay attention a little bit more and lean in, because like, why is she quiet? What's going on there? Right? Because pauses are very powerful. I feel like I lost the train of my thoughts.
It happens. It'll come back, you know. It's meant to be, it'll be meant to be. I agree. The pauses, you know, sometimes the pauses, like for me, when I police words, when I decide to just be quiet and not like, you know, just have that pause, I tend to like be like, I get a lot of like you know, like, why are you quiet? Like, what's going on? You know, a lot of question, kind of like, well, talk to me. Like, what, you know, and they want to know more after the pause and saying less. I guess that's where I was kind of getting at with that. When I say less, because I there is that resistance, like you're saying, with the policing of your words, and I felt it, and I've gotten, like I was saying, the headbutting from that. But like, it's a good point when you stop and you pause and don't say as much, because it gets everyone thinking like, oh, okay, you know, everything seems possible in a way, or they question it like, well, what do you mean? Like, tell me more. And then you're able to, then you have like the undivided attention just to like word vomit, you know, and just say it all.
Yeah. And at the
Yeah.
same time, when we're dealing with people's egos, when we say less or don't say anything at all, the ego feels like it won. And I've been avoiding dealing with people's egos for honestly as long as I can remember, because it's not, for me, it's not fun. It's not fun dealing with people's egos, because this is where they get angry, and I do not like to deal with anger. I don't. It makes me feel small.
Yeah.
And I shut down, and I guess the way I would I've been calling it is I experienced blackout, where it's not that I literally black out and drop and pass out on the floor. It's that my brain is black and it's dark. There's nothing in there, and just my body feels like it's frozen in one spot. It's almost like being attacked by a bear. Fight? Are you gonna run, or are you gonna throw somebody else in front of the bear? Well, I wouldn't throw somebody else in front of the bear, but I mean, if it was a real bear, I think I would run. But with people, I feel like I can't run because I'm not a coward. So I would just stand there and take it. And I've done that for many, many years. So one day, which was, I think about 2 years ago now, is when I decided I wasn't going to do that anymore. I was not going to allow my brain to shut off on me, because it's selfish of my brain. So I'm like, nope, not gonna happen. You're not running from me. You're not hiding. You need to be here. So whatever comes out, whatever information you want to give me, because I know you can't. So I learned how to speak up for myself and how to stand up for myself. I had no problem doing that when I was a teenager, because I always felt like that, like I don't know how to explain. I just felt empowered with myself. And then over the years, having gone through losses, little by little, I just started shutting down. And it wasn't until, like I said, 2 years ago, when I started setting these clear boundaries with myself internally, first and foremost, because I needed to do that within myself and then stick to them. And only after that, I was able to set those boundaries outside of myself with things and with people especially. And one of the boundaries that I've set was that I wasn't going to deal with people's egos. Not that I can't, is that I don't want to. There's no need for it, especially for me, since I've been wanting to work on my ego and eliminate it or get rid of it from my life as much as possible. It's always going to be there, always going to be there. It's part of each and every one of us. It's just some of us have really strong ego. It's like you have almost like bookends. So there's some people that have really, really strong ego that, and the ego wants to win all the time. So some people want to win no matter what. And I guess that's where I was as a teenager. I had a very big ego, right? And I'm not afraid to say it. And I'm like indifferent in saying it. So I'm not proud of it. And at the same time, I am proud of it. So I'm kind of indifferent to it. Whereas other people, they have very, very, very little ego. Typically, they are level 4 and they're giving and giving and giving and giving, right? And then there's a bunch of people in between, right, of different levels. So I don't like to deal with people's egos, period, and especially on the heavier side of the ego, the ones that are bigger egos, because to me, it's not important to win. But what it is important to me is that I am heard. I don't necessarily care to be understood and accepted, but it's important to me to be heard. So when a person expresses to me, or when a person shows me their ego, and I see that it's a very big one, and then I get to decide whether I want to continue expressing myself and be heard, or this person has had enough and I just don't need to go that route. Right? But I believe it is important for all of us to express ourselves. And this is where the blackouts were coming from for me, where I didn't feel like I could express myself, that I wasn't allowed to express myself, because I did not allow myself to express myself because I did not want the person to feel like they lost, or that they're wrong, or that they made a mistake, or any kind of like bad feeling or emotion. I did not want that person to have. So I allowed everyone to win in my life by my brain just really just shutting down and saying, okay, that's it, you lost. Right. And this is where I was finding myself in level 1 as always the victim and never the victor.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I mean, for me, I used to have, I don't know, it was weird. Like I'd be times where I wouldn't have a strong ego at all, and I would give, but then there are times where my ego was strong. And if you didn't agree with me, or if, like you're saying, if I wasn't being heard, ooh, the ego came out. And it was like a self-protection mechanism, I realized, because when I would get angry and like yell and overreact over it, that's when I was actually heard. And I had to take a step back and be like, okay, well, you could be heard and not get angry and overreact and yell. You could still be heard and speak your truth, and then let the person process it as they want, instead of like making them feel like you're attacking them. Because like I would make people feel like I was attacking more, like I would. And this realization came in the last couple, maybe like last year. I had this with the ego. I did a lot of more ego work, and it came about, and it was just like a really huge eye-opening experience. It was just like, wow. Then, and I had the choice then to change it at that point, instead of still living in that combative, like, oh, no, like, listen to me, because I was able to come about it in a different way and still be heard.
And what does the ego use to get the message across to it?
It uses your anger, and it uses, like I'm saying, like uses the yelling. It will use overreacting. It uses judgment. It uses all of the like the bad side, I guess, not the bad, I don't like that word, but it chooses the negative side of the ego, because there's like a positive side to the ego. It's, expressing yourself and spreading love for yourself, having self-love. So I was just always going towards the negative side of it. And now I choose to be on that positive side, where I express myself in a way where I'm heard, but I still do it to where I'm loving myself, instead of putting up a brick wall that would lead to like shame and guilt in the end.
Yeah. And the one thing I would add, which is the topic for today, is the words.
Mm-hmm.
The ego uses words, which are quite often very powerful and potent and negative. Whether it's rarely towards yourself, negative towards yourself, but towards the other person. But the way that the universe hears it, it hears it for you, right? Because whatever comes out of your mouth exists in your world, in your mind. And whether you are, even if you're saying things as a joke, here's the other secret. Even if you're saying things as a joke, your world, your universe, your mind, your body does not know the difference between truth, lie, joke, fibs, or whatever we want to call it. It hears the words as they are and creates them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the things that I thought of when I was writing out the script for the workshop, and I thought, I'm like, oh, this is really good, is looking back at all of the magical movies you watched, like with fairies, with witches, and all of them, they use magic spells. And what do these magic spells have? Words. They're made out of words.
Yeah.
And then they speak and breathe life into this magical spell, into the sentences or phrases. And then guess what happens? It comes true.
Right.
When they say that magical spell enough times, it becomes real. We are all capable of that power. We all have that power within us, where we speak or think, whether you're saying it out loud or in your head, doesn't really make a difference. Same thing, right? Because the universe hears your thoughts and it hears your words. And when you repeat the same phrase over and over and over again, you will get it.
Yeah. And my little thought to that is like with affirmations, I love affirmations because of that. They're like every morning I start out my day with meditation, affirmations, and yoga. But those affirmations I've noticed have changed over the years as my reality has changed to where I want it. So it's like me doing my magic spells. I will not really like, quote quotes, but I do my magic spells every day. And I'm slowly seeing it unfold the way I want it, and and for myself, and how I want to be as a person. And yeah, that's what came up to me for me when you were kind of saying all that, like the magic spells. I'm like, ooh, affirmations. Yeah, those are my magic spells.
They are. You're very right. Affirmations and mantras are magic spells. And that's why it's also very important that they are spoken out loud, is obviously the best way to do that, or at least in your mind, in a very powerful way. Paying attention to each and every word that you have in these statements and understanding what each word means. And when they're written, they need to come from a place of already having it, and not from a place of wanting it and needing it. right? Or from a place of, I would like to, but if I don't, it's okay, right? So something like, I would like to have more peace in my life. It would be nice, and I would like to. And this is where people can start with, I would like to. I would appreciate having more peace in my life. Or I enjoy having all this peace in my life. Whereas I need more peace in my life, or I want more peace in my life. It's kind of like demanding and needing, and from a place of lack
Right.
and scarcity. And when we come from that place, we get more of that. So even if we're saying these mantras and affirmations, if they don't have the correct words in them, it can have the opposite effect.
I agree. One thing I like to do is like I am, like the I am statements. Those are my favorites. So when you brought up the peace thing, it's like came to my mind, I am peace. Because you're like, if the intention is there, like I am this person, this is who I am, and I'm speaking it, and it's gonna come true because I choose this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love the I am. Those are kind of my favorites. And then I have some mantras that I say, like Hung Sa is a really good one for releasing. Om Shrim is abundance. Sat Nam is going to be getting your truth as a person, your own truth. Wahe Guru is like a wisdom, like bring me wisdom, bring me that universal wisdom. That's just a little bit, and I do those when I'm like for certain chakras that I do in my daily practice. I focus on a certain mantra. So yeah.
There's signs behind those two words, I am.
Mm-hmm.
And typically, the science that that's behind these two words is in the statement, I am a creator.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever follows the I am, you are creating and you are breathing life into it. And this is why I love what I do, is when I work with my clients and I hear all the different ways of how they refer to themselves, which is the opposite of what they want to create and have in their life. I get to help them notice it and then work through it to get to the actual statement that they actually desire, that they actually want. I love that word desire, so I use it as much as I can. I love it until I get tired of it, which might be never, but you never know. So, and I love doing that because this is where we get to experience the power of manifestation and creation. And when they do that, they feel very powerful. And then they start believing that they are the creator and start looking around for synchronicities. And the more you look for these little synchronicities, the more you'll see, because they're always there, always all around us. But when we start to pay attention, that's another way we actually manifest them. We manifest all of these synchronicities ourselves into our life, and by just simply paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
You set the intention of wanting to pay attention and look for signs everywhere. You're going to see them everywhere.
Yeah,
Right?
I agree.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like how Tony Robbins, he was doing this little what you call an experiment or exercise, right? With one of his on one of his events where he got everyone to look around the room, and he said, look around and find everything that is brown. Just look, brown, 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 brown. Okay, now close your eyes and tell me how many red things did you see? And people are like, well, you know, one, two, or whatnot, right? And then they open their eyes and look around. How many red things do you see? And all of a sudden, all they could see was red.
Hmm.
So that is where I'm coming from when I'm talking about synchronicities, is that when we start to pay attention to synchronicities, to the color brown, we'll see it all around. But if we look for the pain and suffering and the opposite of, we're looking for evidence of how my life sucks and, nothing is working out, then we will continue to see that in our life, which is the red, right? So what you focus on, you create. So if you focus on brown, the synchronicities in your life, you're going to see that. If you focus on red, the pain and suffering, you're going to see that. You'll get evidence of that. And guess what? All of those things have in common words. Because when you start looking for them, for the evidence, it starts with thoughts. Guess what thoughts have? Words. So,
Yeah.
how powerful are words?
Oh, extremely powerful.
Like, I think that they are extremely powerful. And it's almost like most of us were fed some kind of Kool-Aid drink. So we don't pay attention to what we say. We continue to live this cycle of thoughts, feelings, and emotions that has been passed down generations after generations after generations. Like, humans are the kind of species that there are, to every human being, there are cycles that they go through, right? The thoughts, the experiences, there are patterns to it, right? Which has pain and suffering.
Mhm.
And most of people, including myself, look at it as bad and negative, and I don't want that. Again, you're focusing on the things that you don't want, using words and affirming that and living that way. Whereas once you shift and you start desiring something and you focus on the things that you do want, the things that you want to create, want to experience, then guess what's going to happen?
They just start dropping into your life. And just, here you go. You can have it. It's yours.
And it goes back to words,
Mhm.
spoken inside the mind or outside,
Yeah.
right? Inwardly or outwardly. Still powerful regardless of how they're spoken. Obviously, when they're spoken out loud, there are extra vibrations that are sent out because the voice has vibrations. So it's more powerful to speak them out loud than it is on the inside. But at the end of the day, manifestation is a manifestation.
Right.
Magic spell is a magic spell. Whether it's inside, out loud, loudly, or whispering, still going to take a form and shape to it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I feel like we shared. Look at the time. We're almost getting to that end of today's chat. I feel like we shared a lot, and I know myself. I know that there's a lot more that's locked in my mind and the back, but I feel like this was more than enough for most people to swallow because there's different ways and different approaches of how to understand just how powerful words are, and then the choices of how each and every one of us, including the listeners and the viewers, can actually move forward in a desired direction, in a desired way that is believable. It does not feel forced, because if you feel a little bit of resistance to it, right? That's why when I work with my clients and I want them to get to a place of choice when they say I choose to do this, but if it feels forced, then okay, let's go a little step lower. which is I want to do this. That feels a little believable. Or I could do this, right? So meeting everyone, including yourself, where you feel comfortable with the least amount of resistance, because eventually you will get to that place.
Yeah,
right?
and I agree from personal experience, because when I had you to help me with policing my own vocabulary, I noticed, like, thinking back to where it all started, like I used to say some mean things to myself, and of course everything seemed so negative because that's all I would say to myself. And then once I was able to like have that realization with the help of you and started policing my words, and I noticed all these like synchronicities, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like here's the life I've desired, and here it is right in front of me because I brought it to myself instead of pushing it away with the negativity. Because like the negativity is like a plague. It will just like devour whatever and just like bring out any kind of thing of positivity that you could think of. But once you're like, hey, no, I'm not going to do that, that's not what I desire, and you change your focus, it's like a whole world opens up, and you're like, you see the light in all these different things. You see those little golden nuggets everywhere and the synchronicities. And it's just like, it's powerful.
Yeah. And I got a visualization of what you were saying, and what I was seeing you say was this: the negativity. When we say these negative things to ourselves, it's like jumping in the deep end of the pool where you can't reach the bottom, and you continue to swim in this negativity. You swim and you swim and swim, and you get tired and exhausted, and you go to the bottom. And then when you have the positive thoughts, it's like you get second wind, and all of a sudden you realize, what am I doing at a deep end? I can actually swim where I can touch the ground. So you swim there, and you're able to stand with your head above the water, and you continue with the positive thoughts, feelings, and emotions, words. Then you are able to actually walk out of the pool and feel and dry out from all the water.
Yeah, exactly.
See, like just
Yeah.
kind of like bobbing in there, and then slowly moving as the positivity comes in, and the water goes down, and you're walking out. Right now, that water can easily be replaced with mud, right, or quicksand, or whatever works for the visual people that are listening or watching. That's what it is. That's what negativity is. It's almost like something like pulling us down into a state of feeling like we're drowning in our own thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And I know how that feels, having lived there for quite some time. And the best thing I did was shift my words.
Yes.
I shift them to the ones that I could believe. Um, and I know that resistance feels like when the word choose was introduced into my life. I was like, no, 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 no. I don't have a choice. I don't feel like I have a choice. Right. So I needed to start with like baby steps. I needed to start in the beginning where I could work through it. And then one day I want to. And then one day I choose to. And the next day is like, I've already worked through it.
Right. You're like, I am walking through. Yeah. Look at me. Like,
exactly. So thank you, Bethany. And thank you to all of the viewers and listeners. As always, I would love to hear your biggest takeaway from today. I know there was a lot said and a lot shared, as always. right? As always. That's why they're like an hour long. But if you've been watching and following me and Bethany and all the other ladies that do my videos with, you know that I like to ask this question in the end. So you can start answering in the beginning, or whenever you get this golden nugget, your biggest takeaway, just drop it in the comments for the benefit of everyone else and yourself. Because if words have power and you are not only thinking these words, but you're also typing these words out and you're sharing it with everybody else, you are helping so many other people, right? I bring value to you, and then you bring value to me and everyone who is watching and listening, right? All of the followers who thrive on the awarenesses of everyone else because we get to learn from everyone else. One of the phrases that my mom used to say to me, and I would imagine most moms did say that, was this, that you don't have to learn all the lessons on your own. The best thing you can do is learn these hard lessons from other people so you don't have to go through that pain and suffering, right? So in a way, this this phrase can be used here, where by you sharing what came up for you, your biggest takeaway, can help somebody else to gain that awareness that they might not have ever been able to get exposed to any other place, right? So
yeah, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And thank you to all the listeners and viewers. I appreciate you all. And until next time, yeah.
thank you, everybody. And if you like what you see or hear, share it with someone that you know can benefit from it. And as always, subscribe and give it a thumbs up.
And turn on those notifications.
Thank you, Bethany. The notification bell. And so that way, whenever I upload these videos, and there's a different bunch of series that I have on my YouTube channel, but you'll be the first one to know when I upload something, and go and watch it and check it out and come prepared with a notepad.
No. Yep.
Yeah. So
no,
thank
you.
you.
No, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Until next week.
Bye.
Bye.